Welcome back to Concepts of Biology. We'll read Chapter 4, How Cells Obtain Energy. Figure 4.1. A hummingbird needs energy to maintain prolonged flight. The bird obtains its energy from taking in food and transforming the energy contained in food molecules into forms of energy to power its flight through a series of biochemical reactions. Chapter Outline. Section 4.1. Energy and Metabolism. Section 4.2. Glycolysis. Section 4.3. Citric acid cycle and oxidative phosphorylation. Section 4.4. Fermentation. Section 4.5. Connections to other metabolic pathways. Introduction. Virtually every task performed by living organisms requires energy. Energy is needed to perform heavy labor and exercise, but humans also use energy while thinking and even during sleep. In fact, the living cells of every organism constantly use energy. Nutrients and other molecules are imported into the cell, metabolized or broken down, and possibly synthesized into new molecules, modified if needed, transported around the cell, and possibly distributed to the entire organism. For example, the large proteins that make up muscles are built from smaller molecules imported from dietary amino acids. Complex carbohydrates are broken down into simple sugars that the cell uses for energy. Just as energy is required to both build and demolish a building, energy is required for the synthesis and breakdown of molecules as well as the transport of molecules into and out of cells. In addition, processes such as ingestion and breaking down pathogenic bacteria and viruses, exporting wastes and toxins, and movement of the cell require energy. From where and in what form does this energy come? How do living cells obtain energy, and how do they use it? This chapter will discuss different forms of energy and the physical laws that govern energy transfer. This chapter will also describe how cells use energy and replenish it, and how chemical reactions in the cell are performed with great efficiency. Section 4.1. Energy and Metabolism. By the end of this section, you will be able to explain what metabolic pathways are, state the first and second laws of thermodynamics, explain the difference between kinetic and potential energy, describe endergonic and exergonic reactions, and discuss how enzymes function as molecular catalysts. Scientists use the term bioenergetics to describe the concept of energy flow through living systems, such as cells. Cellular processes, such as the building and breaking down of complex molecules, occur through stepwise chemical reactions. Some of these chemical reactions are spontaneous and release energy, whereas others require energy to proceed. Just as living cells must continually consume energy to replenish their energy supplies, cells must continually produce more energy to replenish that used by the many energy-requiring chemical reactions that constantly take place. Together, all of the chemical reactions that take place inside cells, including those that consume or generate energy, are referred to as the cell's metabolism. Figure 4.2. Ultimately, most life forms get their energy from the sun. Plants use photosynthesis to capture sunlight, and herbivores eat the plants to obtain energy. Carnivores eat the herbivores, and eventually decomposition of plant and animal material contributes to the nutrient pool. Hi, if you found this video informative, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share the link. We want these free textbook resources to be available to other students. All right, let's get back to reading. Metabolic pathways. Consider the metabolism of sugar. This is a classic example of one of the many cellular processes that use and produce energy. Living things consume sugar as a major energy source because sugar molecules have a great deal of energy stored within their bonds. For the most part, photosynthesizing organisms like plants produce these sugars. During photosynthesis, plants use energy, originally from sunlight, to convert carbon dioxide gas, CO2, into sugar molecules like glucose, C6H12O6. They consume carbon dioxide and produce oxygen as a waste product. This reaction is summarized as 6CO2 plus 6H2O leads to or forms C6H12O6 plus 6O2. Because this process involves synthesizing an energy-storing molecule, it requires energy input to proceed. During the light reactions of photosynthesis, energy is provided by a molecule called adenosine triphosphate, ATP, which is a primary energy currency of all cells. Just as a dollar is used as currency to buy goods, cells use molecules of ATP as energy currency to perform immediate work. In contrast, energy storage molecules such as glucose are consumed only to be broken down to use their energy. The reaction that harvests the energy of a sugar molecule in cells requiring oxygen to survive can be summarized by the reverse reaction to photosynthesis. In this reaction, oxygen is consumed and carbon dioxide is released as a waste product. The reaction is summarized as C6H12O6 plus 6O2 leads to 6H2O plus 6CO2. Both of these reactions involve many steps. The processes of making and breaking down sugar molecules illustrate two examples of metabolic pathways. A metabolic pathway is a series of chemical reactions that takes a starting molecule and modifies it step by step through a series of metabolic intermediates, eventually yielding a final product. In the example of sugar metabolism, the first metabolic pathway synthesized sugar from smaller molecules, and the other pathway broke down sugar into smaller molecules. These two opposite processes, the first requiring energy and the second producing energy, are referred to as anabolic pathways, building polymers, and catabolic pathways, breaking down polymers into their monomers, respectively. Consequently, metabolism is composed of synthesis, anabolism, and degradation, catabolism. It is important to know that the chemical reactions of metabolic pathways do not take place on their own. Each reaction step is facilitated or catalyzed by a protein called an enzyme. Enzymes are important for catalyzing all types of biological reactions, those that require energy as well as those that release energy. Figure 4.3. Catabolic pathways are those that generate energy by breaking down larger molecules. Anabolic pathways are those that require energy to synthesize larger molecules. Both types of pathways are required for maintaining the cell's energy balance. This ends Chapter 4, Section 4.1, Energy and Metabolism, Introduction. In our next video, we'll read Section 4.1, Energy.